I'm frequently speaking at seminaries. I teach seminarians both in Rome and here in the US occasionally. And seminary formation, while not perfect, nothing in this world is perfect, is infinitely better than it was 40 years ago. Part of that, frankly, is in response to the abuse crisis.
Sure.
We're not going to do that again, so let's figure out why that happened and see what kind of safeguards we can put in place. But I think it's also a reflection of this John Paul II generation of priests who are now running seminaries. I mean, the Washington College Seminary I mentioned is run by a former student of mine who's a Princeton graduate, Navy veteran, doctorate in theology from Rome, very much in the image of John Paul II. This is going on all over the country. But in the US, I think we are modeling how to do this, at least in a North Atlantic or so-called first world context. And I hope other people are paying attention.
Yeah, what are some of the things you see those seminaries in the US doing that Lynn?
Well, the first thing we're doing is we're taking vocation recruitment much more stringently.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a filtration process now that is much more attuned to, this might be a good person, but this is not perhaps how he ought to live out his Christian and Catholic vocation. I think the fact that we are stressing intense spiritual formation at the beginning is helpful, this propedeutic year. The fact that we are now back to taking philosophy seriously is very important intellectually, because I don't think you can really do serious theology without having some grounding in philosophy. When I taught in the major seminary in Seattle in the mid-1970s, despite the fact that the Roman documents still insisted that somebody had to have 2 years of philosophy before they began to do theology, the bishops of the Northwest were simply ignoring that. And I was teaching a first-year course. These are first-year theologians. It was kind of a fake philosophy course called Critical Thinking. And I was basically teaching Logic 101 to these guys.
Yeah.
And this is just not sufficient.
Yeah.
It's just not sufficient. So the fact that we're back on the former track, improved philosophy and then theology, that helps.